Kislev defending Blackfire Pass from the Lizardmen? Certainly not your typical Warhammer scenario, but welcome back to Call of Warhammer, beginning of the end times, and this replay is gonna get brutal real quick. I gambled on this map a little bit. This was the first time I'd ever played it in multiplayer, and I happened to get the actual pass in my deployment zone, which means I can force the Lizardmen to rush me with my mounted gunners and funnel the Lizardmen into a really precarious position. So right now, I have Chekists and mounted militia up front, gunning down some of the front line of the Skinks and the Temple Guard as they move up to rush my army. And the Lizardmen can definitely be a very scary rush faction. They have tanky and cheap mainline infantry, they can swarm and outnumber you, and their Kroxigors and Stegadons bring the pain. But the Kislevite army has a ton of gunpowder units, both mounted and on foot, with overlapping fields of fire from the flanks and the center, and the Chekists and mounted militia will be able to fire over the heads of my own infantry, which means at some points in this battle I'll be able to get triple line fire going, which, as you can imagine, is pretty brutal. I have winged Hussars and Sons of Ursun up front, rounding out my melee cavalry, and I'm going to deliver a massive frontal charge before the Saurus warriors and Kroxigors can close into melee, with my halberd line charge coming from the Sons of Ursun now going to carry straight through the Temple Guard and just thrash them into the ground. That is going to be a great charge, and that will delay them so that my Streltsy and my gun line has more time to fire in. So I'm going to charge in and pull out. You will see that some of my winged Hussars got wrecked by his Kroxigors as he charged in, but he's just now getting into range of my gunpowder units, and soon my Streltsy with their Berdish axe combos are going to open fire, and I have a halberd line right behind, backing them up, getting ready to protect them as well. And up here, I have a contingent. I have Droyashki, their light infantry, and some Streltsy with those muskets firing in. I'm going to get a good shot, a pretty devastating volley actually, into his Kroxigors. Won't drop many models, if any, but it will drop their HP, which is a very big deal. It means when my cavalry charges in, it's going to be doing quite a bit of damage to those troll-like units. And now, the rest of the main line is moving up. Stegadons and Temple Guard leading the way. He doesn't have meat shields up front, which is really not what you want to do when you're running into a bunch of gun lines with 1 HP units. Needs to have some of those Skink Spearmen up front to soak up some of the fire, but they're not going to, and that means the Temple Guard are going to be dropping like flies. And now Sons of Ursun getting a gorgeous downhill charge into the Kroxigors. Going to be a tough fight. Kroxigors are very, very tanky and have a ton of HP, so dropping them will not be easy. And actually didn't seem to get a great charge off there either. Now Cold One Knights are moving into a position to flank. Those are not Cold One Knights, just Cold Ones. And the Temple Guard are moving into a position as well to charge into the front line. Halberd's moving up, going to get 1 or 2 more volleys off with my Streltsy. Going to be pretty devastating volleys right there. And I can see my Kislev halberdiers moving in to tie down the Temple Guard. They have lost so many models already. Now the charge coming in. Temple Guard have a brutal charge bonus of 8, which is on par with a lot of cavalry units in this game. And so they are going to do quite a bit of damage. Those Streltsy didn't manage to pull back in time, so a bit of a micro mistake on my part. Those Stegadons stomping around, smashing some Russian and Polish dudes into the ground. And I am now going to start getting that double and triple line fire going. So you can see my mounted militia are behind 2 lines of Streltsy, and I also have Kvasniks. They throw Molotov cocktails, and that is going to be really devastating, shooting all of those gunpowder units into one little compact area. And I've funneled the Lizardmen into this really kind of crappy engagement for them. They don't really want to be here, but they didn't have much choice. Those mounted gunners forced him to attack me. And now a lot of the Lizardmen army is moving up now. Temple Guard, more reinforcements coming in, but it's just been utter devastation for this front line. Lots of routing. Temple Guard don't have the morale they do on the tabletop in this game. They do have good morale, but they will rout if they're getting beaten in combat, and they're getting thrashed. Droyashki coming in to maybe hunt down some of these routing units, and Stegadons are my priority now. Killing units like Greater Demons or Giants or Stegadons usually isn't very easy unless you have spellcasters, but gunpowder is another great way to snipe them down, and with 3 Streltsy and 2 mounted gunners firing in, should be able to turn those big dinosaurs into Swiss cheese pretty quickly. And Stegadons are expensive too. You just saw one model drop 6,000 gold to field, about 3. Oh, there's General's going to go down now. They're 3 times as expensive as a Temple Guard unit. So dropping them was really important. They were going to do a lot of damage on my halberd line. Managed to kill them and the General. Now there might be some panic rippling through the Lizardmen main line. The remnants of some of these Temple Guard dealing with my Kislev halberdiers and my Kreml Guard, but things are not going well for them at all. Skink Spearmen coming up to reinforce the Kroxigors, but they are fighting uphill. And because the Kroxigors have such large models, my Streltsy are able to fire over the heads of my own infantry and still do quite a bit of damage to these Cold Ones. and to the Kroxigors themselves. So the Lizardmen are on the verge of mass routing. Balance board very much in my favor. Sons of Ursun getting ready to hunt down some of these infantry units. The Temple Guard with their McQueedles trying to go to work. And if prolonged melee with Sons of Ursun, they might do alright, but the Bear Cavalry does have 2 HP, and if I cycle charge with them, the Temple Guard have absolutely no hope. So we'll see how that engagement goes, but a lot of that main line is breaking. The Skink Spearmen streaming away from the battlefield, and they might be coming back. Running them down is going to be really important because some of them will come back, and I don't want to let them regather their forces at the edge of the battlefield. So, but I have the cavalry to do that. I have really fast cavalry. These winged Hussars, some of the fastest cavalry in the game. I think they're on par with the Silver Helms of the High Elves. And yeah, those Skink Archers who are trying to get some pot shots into my Streltsy gun line, not going to be able to as they run away, and my winged Hussars should be able to hunt them down relatively easily. You can see a lot of that wavering going on right now. Mass rout about to begin for the Lizardmen, and now it'll just be easy pickings as these undefended and routing Lizardmen units are ripped apart on the retreat. It's really, really important for the Lizardmen to be used combined arms tactics in this mod. Probably more so for them than a lot of the other factions, because no one unit in their roster is just a cold-blooded killer that will slaughter everything easily. Some other factions have those units, the cavalry like Dragon Princes of Kalador or Sword Masters of Hoeth, that can run in and just kill pretty much any unit they engage against. But Lizardmen aren't really like that. I think you basically just want to be using everything in combination with each other, and then the force multipliers like the Stegadons and the Kroxigors can do the damage once they get stuck in and are supported with Saurus units or Skinks. A good example of that is the Cold One Cavalry. They are not going to be able to take on Bretonnian or Empire Knights by themselves and be expected to win, but if you let a Skink unit take that charge from an enemy cav unit and then back them up with a unit of Saurus and Cold Ones, you can eliminate that expensive cavalry unit, and it's just all about synergy and meat shielding appropriately with them. And I think the Lizards got a little bit hasty and disorganized in that assault as they attacked the pass. And like I said, the Lizardmen are very cheap. You can afford to field really big armies with them. They have a lot of men in each unit. So you can definitely overwhelm and outflank your opponent if you're using those force multipliers and using everything in combination with each other. It makes them a really interesting faction because, like I said, they don't have those crazy good units that will just slaughter everything when they're alone. But together, they work pretty well with each other. There is a lot of synergy on their roster. I will say this was one of those battles where whoever was attacking the pass was going to be at a significant disadvantage. I was entrenched. I did have those overlapping fields of fire and that glorious hill on my right flank where my Streltsy could fire down and pick off pretty much any unit I wanted to kill. So while the meat shielding certainly could have been a little bit better from Lizardmen, and that attack been a bit more organized, as soon as I realized I had the pass itself with my army composition, I knew it was pretty much in the bag. So certainly not the most competitive of replays, but you don't really get to see maps like that too often on Total War games. I thought this battle was pretty cinematic looking, and of course, Blackfire Pass is an iconic battlefield in the Warhammer universe, very strategically important as the place where the Greenskins enter the old world from the Badlands when they invade, and you can just see the utter devastation my Kislev gun line unleashed on the Lizardmen as they moved up. So many dead. Look at all those Skinks and Temple Guard just littering the battlefield, just completely brutal. There are still a few Kroxigors making their last stand on that hill on my right flank, which we'll check out in a second, but for now the Sons of Ursun and the Winged Hussars are hunting down the remnants of those routing units, and I think that's only 2 Kroxigors left. They are going to rout, book it out of the battlefield. They have great morale. As you can see, the entire army had routed, and there were still 2 or 3 guys left fighting, but one of them is going to get dropped there by a shot at the end. It's a heroic victory. Almost the entire Lizardmen army wiped out, only a couple hundred losses for Kislev, 400 or so. So yeah, that was a fun battle, probably less fun for Gojira than it was for me, but again, I just thought that it was really cool, the terrain advantage that I had, although of course not super tactical. It was just cool to see them fire in from the flank and just unleash that much devastation on the army. So, hope you guys enjoyed the battle regardless. Lots of kills on my cavalry and my Streltsy gun line. It was fun for me, and I'll talk to you all next time. Indy Pride, signing out. Peace.